Welcome to Andy Ari On3, where we always compromise. We always give a little to get a little. Because that's how you do business, right, Ari?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about the compromises that you and I have made. Like, one, your compromise, you have to show up and work with me every day.
Pretty big one. You've compromised for the start time of the show because you've got to drop your daughter off at school or camp, and camp is farther away from school. So you're hauling ass to get back here in time for the show. And I appreciate that. I know that's hard. That's difficult.
But I also think this is the best time. So, like,
yes.
I get it. And, like, when I'm finally, like, 10 minutes away from home, I can relax. But my house between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Central Time is a zoo. So, and I remember 5 years ago, I used to stay up till 3 a.m. every night and sleep into like 10:30. Remember, like that was the life of a sports writer. Nothing ever happened before noon, except that one time when I was a 19-year-old reporter who slept in on Memorial Day of 2000. I can't remember what year it was. 2009. No, way past 2009. But when Jim Tressel resigned, it was 2009 or 2010.
2011.
It was 11. Yeah. I slept in because it was Memorial Day and I was like partying all weekend. And I woke up at 1 p.m. and he had been like resigned at 8:30 a.m. Like like that was like that stuck with me. But
I was a responsible adult at the time. I had already written 2 columns by that point.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, everybody on the beat did but me. Like I didn't even weigh in on it. Like, can you imagine how frantic that was for me? Stuff happens. But
I'm surprised you didn't get fired.
Who resigns on Memorial Day?
Well, yeah, that was the timing of the situation. Unfortunately, because that news came out about the NCAA investigation and the fact that they had him on tape lying to the investigators. So, like, you knew it was going to happen. The Ohio State fans got so mad at me, including one I worked with, got so mad at me when I wrote, hey, this is what's going to happen. They're going to push him out. They're going to fire him. And it wasn't like I was saying they should. I was just saying, historically, this is what has always happened. This is probably what they're going to do. And it's exactly what they did. So, but yeah, that is rough because it was the Monday of Memorial Day, right?
Yeah.
It was actual Memorial Day. Yeah.
It was the day where everybody is recovering from the partying mostly. Like if you do it on Sunday. But yeah, I used to like, we were all 20 at one point. I used to like sleep in at times, like after party days till like noon, 1 o'clock. Like now I don't think I could sleep until noon.
You used to be able to pull that off as a sports writer, like in the newspaper days.
Yeah.
Pre-internet.
It's 2011.
This is how old I am. Like your stuff's not due till 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
And the editor's going to read it and you'll go back and forth on it and they'll have it put to bed by like 11 o'clock at night. And so it made no sense to be up in the morning. Now everything's different. The job's different. Our schedule, the life's different.
Andy, there used to be a reprieve. Like from midnight till noon, that was the calm time. And then from noon till 6 or whatever your deadline was, that was the frantic time. But I was working at Rivals at the time. I was 20 years old or 21 years old. I don't even know if I was 21 yet. I was 21 because I was drinking. But like, and now we're coming back to Rivals. Full everything's
full circle. That's right. July 1st, the On3 Rivals union begins, and hopefully you're keeping track. And if you go to on3.com, it actually has a link to explain how that's going to work. If you're a current On3 subscriber, if you're a current Rival subscriber, how that all will work. It shouldn't change much for everybody. I've seen a lot of questions about how let's say I'm a member of the Wolverine and I want my Michigan recruiting news. Do I need a separate subscription to get that? Do I need a separate login to get that? No, you don't. The Wolverine. When you go to the Wolverine, you'll have the stories from the Wolverine. You'll have the stories from Rivals writers about recruiting. You'll have our stories from On3 about everybody who's already in college, transfer portal, all that. You'll get it all in the same place. It will be easy for you. There are the elves working on the back end right now. Like they're hauling ass right now to get this ready. They're working on it. But for you guys, it shouldn't feel that different. So,
yeah, and I think if we write a recruiting column, it will appear on Rivals, and if we write a column about transfer portal or college football, it will appear on3. Now, the thing that I'm not sure people are ready for. We know we talked about this, when it happened a month ago or 6 weeks ago, whenever it was. But like, are people like ready for Rivals to be the dominant recruiting brand again? Like, I don't know if people's like brains have caught up to like what we're doing here. Like, it's going to be most of all the resources in recruiting go. And like Rivals, that logo on the left that used to be the epitome, to be the whole picture of recruiting, is going to be back in full glory. And like, people are going to use the Rivals rankings. We're going to talk about the Rivals rankings. We're going to talk about, all the profiles that you're going to want to see around Rivals. Like, it's going to be awesome. So like, I feel like it's the revival of an old brand, and it feels cool.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, within a year or so, like, when you talk about recruiting, you'll just say Rivals. It'll be like when you talk about a bandage, you just say Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the way it should be, right? Like I'm trying to think of like what are like the coolest revivals of old brands. Like if they were to remake the DeLorean as an electric car, do you think that would be cool? Like, I'm trying to think of brands that,
Nike has done a good job with Converse, I think.
Yeah, Converse. Yeah, my dad said that the Converse, when he was a kid in the 60s and 70s, was like the shoe.
It was the only shoe you could get. Yeah.
No, but I thought that, well, he told me that like if you had a pair of Converse high tops back in the day, like that was the equivalent of having a fresh pair of Jordans now.
Yeah. And now Nike owns Converse, but they brand it as Converse, and they've tried to do a good job of getting that feeling back of like the classic Chuck Taylor. So,
yeah, I mean, I think like the best businesses in the entire world, especially if you're investing, are the ones that have a product and don't have to change it for 100 years. Like Coca-Cola, it's like the perfect brand. There's nothing. They have the thing. They don't change they don't change the formula.
I mean, they took the cocaine out.
Yeah,
well, they did change that.
Coca-Cola will be here in 200 years, and it'll be the same exact thing, and people will still be drinking it, and it's like amazing. So, okay. And maybe that's what Rivals will be to be recruiting. That's what I'm hoping.
We talked about compromise at the beginning of the show. The reason we talked about compromise is because the college football playoff is at an impasse.
Oh,
they're Andy,
this is terrible podcasting. Just want you to know.
It is. It's terrible. Yes. Why are you doing this now?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're right.
No, go ahead. Now you've interrupted the whole class.
I've ruined it.
Yeah.
By the way, when I was a kid, I had to go to the principal's office for doing this a lot. So, the fact that I don't do it more is pretty crazy. Just want you to know, before we get into the show, that our maid is here. And I just wanted you to know.
Why did you lead with that?
She just got here. I just heard the garage open, which is why I interrupted you. And before,
are you going to ask her on camera about
I don't know if I'm going to do it on camera, but do you think I should go down after the show?
No, absolutely not.
You think I should ask this like, hey, no big deal.
Yes. Yes,
I can do that. I do, right? Like,
no,
hey,
you
no
shouldn't.
Big deal.
Yes, you should. No, don't.
What
yes,
would you
do it.
I'm just asking you, what would you do? Would you ask?
There's not a chance in hell I would talk to her about that.
Okay.
But you're a different person than me.
I did get the bug guy, the pest control guy involved. So, like, all right, go ahead. Compromise. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. But, like, I'm going to, for the next 45 minutes, wonder, do I do it? Do I not do it? And at the end, give me your answer.
Okay.
And that's good.
Think about it real hard.
We're leaving people to the end. See, here we go.
Yeah. Now you've dangled that carrot. That's great. I appreciate that. The people who clicked on this because they're like, these guys are going to talk about the college football playoff, the Big Ten, and the SEC. They're like, what in the hell have I stepped into?
Talking about panties, guys. Just a blue lace thong. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Go ahead.
And if you don't know what that means, you should listen to Monday and Tuesday show. All right, here we go. The Big Ten and the SEC at an impasse. College football playoff. The commissioners met in Asheville, North Carolina for the past 2 days. They are now departed back to their separate residences. There is nothing decided. They have until December 1st to decide what the format's going to look like for 2026 and beyond. That would be the next TV contract, which goes for 6 seasons. They do not have a format. They do not have one. They have had years to decide this, but they do not have one. The Big Ten and the SEC basically control this thing now. They have to decide, and they are now at opposite ends of the spectrum about what they want. The Big Ten wants automatic qualifiers. 4 for the Big 10, 4 for the SEC, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 for the highest ranked champ of everybody else. 3 at-larges. The SEC is now on board with the 5 highest ranked conference champs, 11 at-larges, 16-team field. And this is going to probably be a problem. I don't know. I don't know where they go. Vance in the chat says, I'm pretty sure you called this the college Cold War. I have not. I don't know who did, but I think it's a pretty good term. It does feel like a Cold War. Now, here's my thing, and I wrote a column about this at On3 today. There is a compromise that could be done. Like, the two sides could make a deal today and be done with this whole thing. But it's college football. The logical thing never happens. Nobody ever does the thing that makes sense. So I'm not going to hold my breath. But here's what they can do. I'm not saying they should do this, but if they want to get this deal done, here's what they could do. The Big Ten is very adamant that the SEC needs to play 9 conference games. It's a huge deal to the Big Ten, to the coaches, to the athletic directors. Okay, fine. If you're the SEC, you can turn that into currency. You say, all right, Big Ten, we will play a 9th conference game, which allows us to have a scheduling agreement with you out of conference, which gets us more money from ESPN. And in return, you back off this automatic qualifying thing, and we go 5-11. If it's that important to you, we'll do it, and you give us that.
You know what I don't understand? Because I was thinking about this, because you told us you were writing the column last night, and I thought about it in the shower. If the Big Ten is so gung-ho about having automatic qualifiers, then why do they care so much about how many other it doesn't pertain to them? They get their 4, the SEC gets their 4. Who cares? Like, why are they so bent out of shape about it?
But they want automatic qualifiers. They're worried that they won't get 4, which is weird because they had a 12-team playoff and the Big Ten got 4 and the SEC only got 3. But why are they worried about that?
The thing that I think I did a bad job of explaining what I was saying. Sorry. Yeah. Let me try again. If the SEC uses it as currency and says you'll get what you want,
the SEC playing 9 conference games being the thing they want, not, which, by the way, does probably make it where SEC teams will take more losses, which should make it easier for Big Ten teams to get at large bids over SEC teams.
I'm saying if the Big Ten were to get what they actually, or like if the Big Ten were to get 9 conference games in a world where 4-team where automatic qualifiers existed, then those two things don't matter. It has to be 4. It has to be 9, 9, 5, 11 for it to make sense, right?
That's how it makes sense. That's how this would work, because in a deal, one side gives up something, the other side gives up something. Nobody's going to get everything they want in this thing. Like, I know the Big Ten is used to getting exactly what it wants, and the SEC is used to getting exactly what it wants, but against one another, they can't get what they want. One of them is going to have to give, and the other one's going to have to give, and then they're going to have to compromise.
But what I'm saying, though, is that if the Big Ten winds up getting what it wants, which is the 4 automatic qualifiers,
yeah, right,
then how many games the SEC plays in the conference doesn't matter anymore.
Well, that's the funniest part is,
like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
But if I'm the SEC, I would stay at 8 just to spite them at that point.
But I feel like if the Big Ten got the automatic qualifiers, what the SEC does doesn't even matter.
They're still at larges. You still get more teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, it's like you get your 4. You like the whole thing about how many games they're playing is about playoff equity, and if you get your 4, then you're already sitting pretty. I don't know.
Here's the thing, and this is where the SEC has a little bit of an advantage, and the reason this can be a bargaining chip, because I agree with you that if they did automatic bids, it actually makes sense for the SEC to go to 9 at that point and just take more money. But the ACC and the Big 12 want the 5-11 thing also, which is interesting because the Big 12 probably gets more in if they just take 2 automatic bids. But we've talked about this before. I agree with Brett Yormark, with the ADs in the Big 12, when they say, no, we want a chance to get it on the field. We do not want automatic bids because if we do that, we are saying that we are half of what the Big 10 and the SEC are.
It's like the most like big balls position is. And I respect the hell out of it.
It is. It's the only way to do this, because if they sign a paper that says we are half of what the SEC and the Big 10 are, what's getting taken away in the next contract? This is only 6 seasons. So what gets taken away in the next contract if that happens? You can't budge on this if you're them.
Yeah. And I go back to the whole point, though, of like, if you don't do 4-4, then why are we going to 16? Like, I keep coming back to that. Like, what's the point? Like, wouldn't the actual compromise, like we have here in the chat, say 5 AQs plus 11? Here, Mark's Holy Grail, 5 AQs plus 11 is not a compromise. A compromise is staying at 12 and just add the new revised strength of scheduling and record. But
neither side wants to stay at 12.
Yeah. I just don't understand why we're doing it if we're not doing automatic qualifiers.
Because somebody finally figured out if you're going to have 4 rounds, you may as well have 16 teams.
Yeah. Because because the bye week means less television equity.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just, this is the easiest compromise in the world. The SEC makes more money. The Big 10, if you look at the way the sport is going, and especially because one thing they talked about, bad job by me not mentioning this. One thing they talked about at this meeting is different strength of schedule metrics, strength of record type metrics that would reward teams that play tougher schedules. Because they're trying to protect better non-conference scheduling. They're trying to do that. The Big 10 is not going to suffer. Like, the idea is this is all supposed to help the SEC. But if everything we've seen in the sport in the NIL transfer portal era continues, the Big 10 schedules are just going to get harder too, because that league's going to get deeper.
Yeah. And then, of course, it would promote the SEC Big 10 Challenge, right? Which would be to me, is like, that's more interesting to me. If every year in week 3, every Big 10 and SEC team was playing each other, wouldn't that be amazing? And I know we can't do that mathematically because they're not.
I wouldn't mind if they spread it around the season. I don't care how they do it, but all 16 SEC teams play 16 of the 18 Big 10 teams. Let's do it.
When they all it's been a long time since I've paid close attention to basketball, but I remember when I was covering it, the Big 10 ACC Challenge all happened the same day, right?
They do it on the same weekend, yeah. I think
which I thought
it would be a little bit hard. I wouldn't want to do that on the same weekend in college football. I would like it spread out just to give us more interesting games. Evan in the chat with I don't think Evan realizes he's just created the Super League. They honestly need to get rid of the group of 6 and turn the Power 4 into a Super League and just do the top 12 teams from the Super League and everybody plays each other. There's no conferences. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. We're kind of hoping it doesn't.
Yeah. You just described the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we would like to avoid that, Evan. That's the whole point.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about the Super League thing, though, dude, is that if you're an Oklahoma fan, which Evan is, you might there's a lot of people who root for teams like Oklahoma who do want that. They don't want they don't care about Oregon State and Washington State. Yeah. They just want their team to have an equitable run, play everybody, and then just earn it or lose it on the field, which, I don't hate you for having that sentiment, but for us, and it is so funny that I'm the messenger here because people think that I don't like small time schools. I actually feel like the inclusion of college football from everybody's a part of the system thing is the greatest benefit of the 12-team playoff. I didn't lose sleep in the 4-team field in the BCS era when, group of 5 teams or smaller teams weren't considered because I viewed them as a different sport. But one of the features of this is that if you are the Sun Belt champion and you go undefeated, you theoretically have a seat at the table. And I think that engages everybody into the same thing. And we're trying to maintain that. It's good for the show. It's good for college football. It's good for college football fans. And as we investigated it through theory 2 weeks ago, I think we found that the smaller time fans want that seat. They would rather have a seat at the big table than win their own little tournament, which I think is great. The upsets, the making of the playoff, the litmus test or the benchmark for what success is doesn't have to be the same everywhere. It's never been the same everywhere in college football. So, the Super League I think is going to happen, and when it does, it'll be very interesting to see who's in and who's out. But I'm hoping to create a system that works really well, which I thought the 12-team playoff would have in the 5-conference era. I'm trying to find a system right now that actually serves everybody in the moment and can appease everyone. Because I'm kind of tired of the change. I'm tired of the evolution. I'm tired of these conversations. I just want the system to be the system. I want the conferences to be the conferences. I want us all to settle in, and I want us to enjoy our favorite pastime. I'm sure fans are tired of this. Do you think fans in the offseason want to have half of our shows be about the house settlement and NIL and who should be in the playoff and what should
I know they don't. I know they would rather us talk about football. And I'd rather talk about football. If you want to hear us talk about football and you're watching on Twitter right now, come join us on YouTube. Hop in the chat. The chat is popping off as usual. That's the best way to watch the show. So come on. Come join us. It'll be more fun, and you can make fun of Ari in real time. It's much better. So just click the link right below the square where you're watching it, and it'll take you to the YouTube page. And subscribe to the YouTube page. Throw a like at us, and we'll all be a one big happy Andy and Ari community. But I'm with you, Ari, on this. I would love if it just became, if they just would just side on it and be done with it. I'm afraid it doesn't matter because they will eventually decide something and they'll do that for 6 years and they'll do something different.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what you thought the over under was of whatever they decide here in the next, whatever amount of time. How long do you think that will be in place before it changes again?
This contract,
5.5, 6 years.
Yeah, this contract, with this upcoming contract, and then they'll move on to whatever the next thing is frustrating because by this point, well, we're only going to have 2 years of this 12-team thing. Now, we might get more of the 12-team. If they can't come to an agreement, they might just say, let's stick with this, which all right, I'm going to ask you this, Ari. Is it the worst thing in the world if they just we can't figure it out? We're going to stick with this for another 6 years? Is that the worst thing?
I think 12 with the automatic qualifiers for conference champions seated straight is very functional.
I could live with that. I could live with this for another, it would be 7 years with this year. I thought the tournament last year was fun. My biggest gripe was you need to seat it straight. They're going to do that now. I don't have a problem if they just wanted to keep doing that.
Yeah. Also, let's see how it goes this year before. What if it goes awesome? What if it's perfect this year? We haven't even had, that's the funniest thing. We haven't even had a real-time system in place for even a sample size of 1 year before we've changed it. Now, we have the same number of teams, but we have never had what we had this year once. We don't even know if it's the best thing in the world yet because we haven't even seen it happen.
I'm sure it won't be perfect because there's always going to be something for someone to complain about.
Yeah, because there will be an 8 seed that will be a really, really good football team. They'll seed it straight, and whoever has to play the 8 seed's going to get screwed. But that's going to happen in college football no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really enjoy the tournament aspect of it. I thought the games were great when you got into the later rounds. I think if you seeded it straight, you would have had more interesting games like Boise State, Indiana would have been a great first round game, which would have happened if you seeded it straight. So again, if they can't come to an agreement, maybe they should just say, you know what? Let's just leave it here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other analogies that I can come up with where it's I'll give you something if you give me something, but the thing that I give you no longer is important if you get what you want. That's what this is, which is kind of funny to me. It's
yeah, I do wonder, would the SEC just go to 9 games if the automatic qualifying? I don't think the automatic
That was the
qualifying
original
thing.
theory, wasn't it, Andy? Like if we get 4-4.
Well, no, that's
And
what
the SEC just
SEC
gonna
ADs
do it.
told me that.
Yeah.
They told me if it's the 4-4 automatic qualifying, they'll go to 9. They'll be fine with it because it won't affect them anymore.
Oh, it's actually comes across as a compromise, but it's actually what the SEC would probably prefer.
Well, it's what Greg Sankey wants. He wants them to go to 9 conference games. He has wanted this for a while.
Especially because they make more money. So it's like, I'll give you what you want, but it's actually deep down what I want if the thing you want happens.
It's definitely what he wants. It's not what the SEC coaches want. I think you pointed out Brian Kelly's fine with 9 games. I don't think any of the other ones are. But
all I'm saying is Brian Kelly said that he was echoing sentiments that were found in the coaches' room. That could not be true. I don't know, but he said that. That's like on the record quote.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely wants to play the Big Ten, and I think I'll be fine with playing the Big Ten if it's not going to hurt them in the long run. And boy, I think the SEC has a little more. I don't know that either one has enough leverage. Neither one has enough leverage to just say, let's do what we want. But the SEC has the I guess moral high ground on the 5-11 thing because that's what the ACC and the Big 12 want. And it also might keep them from getting sued, which would be important. Because I keep coming back to. I was actually surprised when it seemed like the SEC was going to be okay with the automatic qualifiers, because I remember back when they were trying to figure out the 12 team, Greg Sankey talking about how it was kind of important to not say this bid goes to this specific league because he was worried that might get them sued. And like Bob Bowlesby, who was the Big 12 commissioner at the time and worked with Greg Sankey and Craig Thompson and Jack Swarbrick on the 12-team format, Bob Bowlesby said it straight up. Like he told me that at that big thing they had in Vegas, what they do every year with the Sports Business Journal conference. He said, I worried we were opening ourselves up to antitrust issues. Like that a league might get mad about not being included enough and would just sue us. And then we wouldn't really have a great defense. So
yeah, they have a great one now, though.
Right. If you keep it where it's the 5 highest ranked conference champs and you don't specifically say this one, this one, this one, this one.
Yeah, or the defense is get out of my house.
Yeah. And the Big Ten too. What's that?
Get out of my house is a good defense too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what they do. I am very.
You want to have somebody over for dinner and cook a beautiful lobster, and then they say they don't like shellfish? Is that okay?
That is kind of how you feel if you're the Big Ten and the SEC, and you're talking about the Mountain West or the MAC or the Sun Belt, where you are giving them a lot of money, and they're not really contributing that much.
What's the saying? Hand feeding, biting. What's that?
Feeding the hand that feeds you. Yes. Yes. And that's why I kind of look at this thing. It's funny because we've had to learn a lot about antitrust as people who cover college sports. I kind of look at it almost like a CBA. Like the MAC and the Sun Belt and the Mountain West are agreeing to this and taking money from it. So isn't them signing on for it them saying we're cool with it?
Admission that we're cool with it? Yeah, I agree with you.
I would think, but I bet.
Are they secretly cool with it? Because at the end of the day, isn't the secret to life is how much you're getting paid? We
had that discussion yesterday.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but it sure helps.
The discussion was not representative of the way the world works. Let me put it that way. Especially in college football, which is why the Stanford's in the ACC right now.
And exactly.
Talk about quality of life. Why are there West Coast teams playing half their games on the East Coast?
Yeah. This is a strange world. Speaking of the ACC, Ari, we'll see how this all works out. I don't know how it's going to play out. That seems like the compromise that will work, that would allow them to have a deal that maybe pushes the sport forward in the most positive way. And because of that, I think there's no chance it'll happen because I'm very cynical about this stuff now. But all right, let's talk a little ACC. One team in the ACC. And I got to say, when I saw I think it was a year or so ago, that Boston College was moving to New Balance. I was like, uh-oh. This is not going to be good. Boston College unveiled its New Balance uniforms last night, and they are fire. They look amazing. I love the like late 70s, early 80s arm stripes. They look so much better on the compression jerseys than they did back in the day when they were the big old mesh jerseys. Like, this looks incredible. If you're listening in podcast form, I apologize. You're not seeing this, but you can go to Boston College football's Twitter feed, or just type it, Google Boston College new uniforms, and you'll see it. These look awesome.
So, which brand messed up football uniforms the most? I have an opinion.
Adidas.
Okay, all right. So we agree. Like the Adidas, like Michigan uniforms, for instance, were like they took one of the most beautiful uniforms in the entire sport and they turned it into a complete disaster. So for me, like, I have this feeling about uniforms. And I don't know if it's because I'm becoming my father, or like when you get older, you feel like everything from your childhood was the best. But I don't think that there is a single uniform in the NFL that has been updated that is better than their 90s equivalent.
Oh, listen, I grew up a Dolphins fan. Like, not only is the old Dolphins logo and the throwback Dolphins uniform so much better than the new one, like the way that jersey technology and uniform technology has changed makes those old uniforms look even better now.
Right.
So like when the Dolphins wear their throwbacks, it might be the most beautiful uniform in football right now.
Yeah. Can you think of a single NFL uniform that has been improved from 1996 to now?
No. And when you think about the one like the Packer, like, why would you ever change anything about the Packers uniform, the Steelers uniform? I think the 49ers have one of the best uniforms in football.
But even the Niners uniforms from the 90s are better than the ones they have now. Like,
well, no, they went back to the ones from the 80s. I'm fine with that. But I think the reason why I believe that isn't just because, I mean, it's a separate conversation if you just want to talk about color scheme and logos, because I even think like the Buccaneers creamsicle uniforms were badass. I know they can't ever go back to them because they didn't win a game when they were wearing them. Yeah, that was more of a, we can't win in these.
I still think that like every logo from the 90s is better than the new logos too. And the reason why is because in football uniforms, and maybe one of the rarer things in life, simple is better. Like,
it's interesting you talk about that, because I had this discussion with my son the other day. He, obviously he's in Gainesville. Everybody around him is a Gator. And he's like, the Gators logo is the best logo in college football. And he's talking about the Gator head. Yeah. Like, which debuted in the early 90s. But to me, I'm like, wait, which logo are you talking about? Because my favorite Gators logo is Albert the Alligator, not the super aggressive roided up Albert the Alligator, but the goofy looking one with the schoolboy cap on. Like that's my favorite one. So it really is sort of what age you are when you're exposed to it that it becomes your favorite.
I'm actually Googling, you like the one where, wait, not the one that's roided up? I'm trying to think.
Not the super aggressive italicized roided up Albert.
I thought you meant like the one of just the head right now that they have on their field.
No, that's the one my son loves, and that's the official logo. And it's been around since I was I believe it was a freshman in high school when they debuted it. So it's been around a long time.
Okay.
But I like the one from the 80s.
Yeah, he looks roided up in that one too, but not.
He's an alligator. Of course, he's gonna look tough.
Yeah, the one where he's like wearing a orange baseball hat, right? That's the one you like.
He's wearing a turtleneck. Yeah, and an orange baseball hat. That's the goofy. That's a little bit too goofy there, producer River. I'll send you one.
I know which one it is. I see it. It's
I'm gonna send one to River so we can show the people, but
it's this one. I sent it to him. But yeah, the thing that Boston College did a good job of is they used like updated like body hugging material, and the colors are bright, but it's simple. They have the sleeves, they have the BC logo on the chest, they have the numbers, and it's just there's nothing to it. Like the Falcons, for instance, what they did to their uniforms, like it just like there's these lines. The more it looks like an XFL uniform, or the more the uniform looks like it was in the movie any given Sunday, the worse
Yeah.
it is.
Like you don't need to mess with the fonts that much. You don't need to change. Like this is beautiful here. And the fact that it's New Balance, I was kind of unsure about the whole New Balance thing. Now, I've owned New Balances before. I've liked them. But when this video dropped on Wednesday night, I texted you guys basic white girl uniforms because like I have a teenage daughter, and if you don't have a teenager, you may not have noticed this, but every teenage girl in America wears the same pair of New Balance right now. Every single one.
I'm trying to think of which ones those are.
They're the gray kind of suede ones.
Oh, okay. Got it. With the N in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen those. I don't have a teenage daughter yet, but yeah, so I give them an A+ on this. And I think Balance did a good job with the material too, because sometimes the material looks bad. This material,
and so they're gonna do New Balance cleats too. So this is a whole thing. Like they are trying to really, because you've seen it, and if you watch the NBA playoffs at all, you've seen the New Balance basketball commercials because they have Kawhi Leonard, they have Cooper Flagg, they have Cameron Brink in the WNBA. So they are trying to make a big push, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with competition in this area. I'm still waiting for the Lululemon uniforms. Like the first Lululemon contract is going to be fire.
Do you think that if Under Armour did a better job of making sick uniforms, that their brand would be healthier?
That's a great question. Because I was trying to figure out, is it because the people, the shoes never really took off. So they never got any market share in shoes. And I think that's probably what killed them. But I don't know. I mean, because like Auburn doesn't let you do much with the uniform. Auburn's an Under Armour school. The Auburn Under Armour uniforms are beautiful because Auburn was like, this is the uniform. You can't mess with it.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I thought that they tried too hard in a lot of areas. Like
South Carolina, it feels like they've got too many uniforms. Like
Maryland, I think, is the perfect example of trying too hard. If you look back at the old Maryland uniforms where it just says Terps on the helmet, those red ones, it's a million times better than whatever they're wearing now.
Yeah, they went a little crazy, like with the Maryland flag and all that.
Yeah, like I thought I was going to have a stroke when I was watching their games. Like, I don't know. I understand the concept of state pride and showing exactly like who you're supporting and where you're from. I know that's a regionality and being loyal to where you're from and where you went is the spirit of the sport. But I think that was a little much for my taste. If you go back and you look at some of the I don't know if we've ever done this on the show. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about it, but like ranking the 10 best uniforms in college football.
Let's do a mini random ranking right now.
Okay.
Like, best uniforms in college football. Go.
And I think that you're also going to figure out a lot about the person by what they say. It's like what your tastes are. I think that Florida's color. I think USC's got the most beautiful uniforms in college football.
You know how I feel about USC's. I love the shoulder yokes. Like I'm a huge shoulder yoke guy. I actually think USC's road uniform is one of the top 5 uniforms in college football.
Yeah, I just think that USC in general, like the color scheme is beautiful. I think that Michigan's uniforms are amongst the best.
Perfect.
Their helmets perfect.
Michigan's is perfect. Like it now that Nike's taken it back. So they have the actual. It was Maze that they lost when they went to Adidas, right? Because Nike had the copyright for the Maze.
Yeah, the whatever they were doing when they weren't Jordan and Nike was terrible. But when it's the simple block lettering, the sleeves just have the numbers on it. The helmet, and by the way, like color scheme has a lot to do with it because color scheme, is just your school. And sometimes if you have a really beautiful one, like blue and Maze and blue is beautiful. I think Ohio State's uniforms are pretty, but I think they've messed up their sleeves. The ones that they wear in the playoffs are the perfect uniform, and they only wear it in the playoff. They'll
do some more wacky alternate stuff. Like they'll go all black, and the basic Ohio State uniform is glorious.
Well,
that's a color scheme that does not like. It never looks bad, and I know it's scarlet and gray. But in reality, it's red and silver. Like red and silver never looks bad together.
Right. they messed up their sleeves, so I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
They're awful. You know which ones I really like too?
What's that?
And I don't know if this is just like an ode to like old times, but I like uniforms that have the school's name across the chest. So I've been very interested. I've always liked Oklahoma State's uniform and color scheme.
Yeah. Yeah, the Barry Sanders, when Mike Gundy was playing those days when they had Oklahoma State in big letters right across the front. That was cool. I don't mind that Oklahoma State does all the crazy combinations. Like I don't have a problem with Oregon doing that and Oklahoma State doing that. If you don't have like an iconic uniform, why not just go crazy? Though I will tell you, like I have a favorite Oregon one. My favorite Oregon one is chrome helmet, white jersey, silver pants.
Yeah.
I love it because they were the original chrome helmet. The chrome helmet with the wings with the O on the back is beautiful.
Yeah, like the thing with me in Oregon is that like I feel like some of their combinations are perfect and some of them are awful. And I also feel like you don't know what they're gonna do.
The eggshell one looks so stupid.
And sometimes they don't have the right combination of pants and jerseys and helmets. Sometimes I feel like they don't match because they do too many different things. Like Oregon, to me, I think you could say has cool uniforms, but I would never put them anywhere near the pantheon of best because there's no consistency and you don't really know what they are. And another one that I'm killing myself right now for not mentioning earlier is UCLA. UCLA, it's the blue and gold color scheme is beautiful. Ole Miss has beautiful uniforms. Florida and Florida State both have beautiful uniforms. And then, of course, you have to go with the classic ones like Bama and Penn State and Notre Dame, like the ones that have been the same for 100 years.
I'll give you another one that I've always loved. And every time they've tried to mess with it, it's been hideous. Georgia should never change anything. Red helmet, red jersey, silver breeches, red helmet, white jersey, silver breeches. That is all you need. It's perfect.
Yeah. And there are so many, it's like hard like to rank the uniforms when it comes to the programs that just do something simple because that's the best way to do it. It's just like, I mean, can you really say that Penn State has one of the best uniforms in college football? It's very plain, but it's perfect.
Yes, I can.
You know what I mean? That's but like I think a lot of times it comes down to like what you like visually with colors. Because like my favorite uniform in all of sports is the San Francisco 49ers because I don't think there's a better sports combination of colors than red and gold.
Right. My son's school went to that because they're a burgundy and gold school. Like those are their school colors. But they had white helmets last year with burgundy accents. This year they have gold helmets with burgundy accents. So it is much closer to what it's basically the 49ers helmet with burgundy instead of red. And I love it. It's like it's hanging in our foyer right now. Every time I walk past it, I'm like, that is sweet.
Can we also acknowledge that like some throwback uniforms are great and that everybody's are great? Like that everybody has a cool, like Maryland's old uniforms that they wear are great. Like I think that everybody has got okay uniforms if you go back far enough.
Nathan in the chat, I absolutely love the San Diego State Mayan calendar helmet. I do too. That should be their permanent one.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the throwbacks you realize need to be the uniform. Like Pitt had changed its colors. Pitt's colors were yellow and royal blue, and then they changed them to navy and like metallic gold. And they're much better, like the Hugh Green, Tony Dorsett versions. And they started wearing the throwbacks and realized, wait, this is so much better than what we've been wearing. Let's just eventually go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. This should be their uniform every week.
Yeah.
So,
here's another one that they don't change very often. Samaris in the chat. Iowa looks nice too with their Tiger Hawk logo. The Iowa Tiger Hawk logo is one of the best logos in sports. And I love like the big blocky stripes, the giant stripe down the pants. Like Iowa's perfect too. Don't ever change. That's one place I'm glad Kirk Ferentz does not experiment much with anything. Like their uniforms are pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think we covered it. Florida State, I like. Florida, I like. Texas.
Texas is great. The Longhorn logo is such a perfect helmet logo.
You know which one I really love, and they only wear once a year. And Clemson goes purple.
I don't.
I love it.
I like the orange jerseys better.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like maybe not for every game, but when they wear it once a year, it's awesome.
I'll say one that's kind of sacrilegious that I liked when Florida wore the blue helmets with the Gator script when they played Tennessee that one year, I liked that a lot. Like I thought that was pretty fun. I did not like the Gator. The worst one ever. And we talk, we bashed Adidas, but I'll let Nike take one here. The worst one ever is the Florida Gator hide logo, or like where it looked like actual alligator skin when they played Texas A&M that one time during the Felipe Franks era. It was so bad.
Yeah, we should do a random ranking, but we have to go research it of like worst one-off experimental uniforms.
That's the worst one ever.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, like Notre Dame had one that was really bad too, didn't they?
Notre Dame's had a couple that were a little bit iffy.
When Notre Dame wears Kelly green, it's beautiful too.
It is cool. I think Notre Dame's kind of figured out that they don't need to change too much. Like they have the Kelly green every once in a while, but they had some one-off uniforms where they'd go play in New York and they'd wear something different. But one Kelly green game a year, and then navy and white, and it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, the Shamrock Notre Dame uniforms that they wore in Ireland were awful.
And they had one at Yankee Stadium where they had some pinstripes. It was a little bit weird.
Yeah. No, Notre Dame's but those were Under Armour. Oh yeah, Notre Dame had pinstripe pants and pinstripe sleeves in Yankee Stadium done by Under Armour, and it looked like it didn't even match. It was terrible. We should do that. Well, and have pictures of your worst one.
Oh yeah, we could definitely do that. We got a lot of off season left, more off season than we realized left. Ari, let's talk about my experience last week, which a little different side of what we normally cover. And so I've got a son who's going into sophomore year of high school. He plays football. We went to his first football camps last week, and that was it was eye-opening because Ari, camps changed a lot since you and I were kids. When I was in high school, I remember we went to the Florida camp. I think I went to the South Carolina camp as well. And it was like a 3-day experience. And you stayed in the dorms, you ate in the dining hall, you were out on the field for 8 hours a day. They had coaches that they brought in. They bring in high school coaches to work the camps. They'd bring in coaches from smaller schools that would come help work the camps. And it was a lot of instruction and everything else. And back then, it was a way to get a little extra money for the graduate assistants, for the younger assistant coaches. And that's why they did these big things. Now, it's changed a lot. And our guy, Mark Pantoni at Ohio State, he had a lot to do with it, with how it's changed because he helped evolve it. He created the Friday Night Lights concept at Florida back in the late aughts, where they would just bring in, essentially, it was not invite only. Anybody could do it, but they put the link to it at the bottom of the website. So if you didn't get invited by the coach, you probably didn't know about it. And it was like the 200 best guys in the next 2 classes. And they'd come and have them all together, and it was really fun to watch that competition. And that's kind of how school camps have evolved, where they're only 3-4 hours. You spend the first hour getting measured, and then they run you through some 40s, and they do some drills to kind of figure out your agility and can you move, can you bend? And then you're only on the field for really hour and a half, 2 hours with the coaches. And so we went to Tulane. He had a 7-on-7 tournament at Florida. And then he went to the Duke Academic Mega Camp. And the way the Academic Mega Camp works is they bring in staffs from other schools. So all the Ivy League staffs were there. A lot of the high academic schools that play in Division II, Division III, or have the non-scholarship FCS, they were there. And they're looking at the players. So it was 3 very different experiences. So let's talk about the Tulane camp, because that was very eye-opening, and I learned a lot about how the sausage gets made in recruiting on that one. And so Ari, we get there, and we were about 45 minutes early, so they hadn't opened the doors yet. Now they had official visitors. We walked into the football office, and all the official visitors for that weekend are sitting there, and they're also going to do the camp. And it's Oh, no. We regular folks, we need to get out of here. Because the official visitors are there, like the coaches are showing them around. They're put on golf carts and talking about how awesome it's going to be. So we walk back out, and then we're sitting on this bench, and this lady and her son come up, and they sit down, and they're from Alabama, and we started talking. And the son is massive. He's clearly an offensive lineman. He's probably like 6'5", 300 pounds. I'm like, oh, what year are you? Thinking he's going to say class of 2026. He's like, class of 2028. And my son's like, what? We're the same age? What? And his buddy shows up, who is a 26 kid, who's like a 6'3", 290-pound defensive tackle who's got offers from like Georgia State and Western Kentucky. And Tulane's defensive line coach immediately comes out and like hugs him and like talking to the mom. And so my son is freaking out at this point, because he's a 185-pound triple option center. And he's like, I'm going to die, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally going to die out here today. I was like, I don't know.
Well, the camps aren't full contact, right? So like, it's not like, but they do get after it.
They have one-on-ones, O-line versus D-line at the end. And so like, he's just terrified. Like, this is the end of me.
How do you do?
Well, it was interesting because he goes out there and like I actually texted John Summerall at Tulane about this. His offensive line guys, Evan McKissick's their main offensive line coach, Coach Ray, their assistant offensive line coach who played at Tulane, he worked at LSU last year, but he's back at Tulane this year. Like, they treated every kid like they were a 5-star recruit. Like, they're teaching them things. I was actually shocked at how much they could teach in an hour and a half. Like, my kid learned stuff that he took back and is working with at his school. And I was very impressed by that. So it was interesting watching some of the kids. Like, you can tell some of the kids are really well coached, but there are kids, and because at Tulane, like, the population of the camp is guys who are being recruited by Tulane or guys who think they should be recruited by Tulane. So these are very good players. In a lot of cases, the best players on their teams. And a lot of guys who are going to play Division I football, whether it's at Tulane or maybe a level just below that. And so you can see, and obviously the college coaches are looking at traits. You can't teach size, you can't teach speed, you can't teach flexibility. So they're looking for those guys. So you'd see like they're paying special attention to the guys that look like they kind of fit the profile. But then some of those guys clearly haven't been coached very well. And so they're trying to work with them and trying to give them some tips and figure it out. But that's where I told my son, I was like, here's where you have an advantage. You've got a good offensive line coach at your school. He just finished playing at Marshall and Georgia Southern. So you've learned some stuff. And so they get to the one-on-ones, and I was like, this could end very badly. And so the first guy he goes up against is probably 250, nose tackle, tried to bull rush him. My son knows what to do with a bull rush, so he anchored pretty well, but his foot slipped, and he's like, The second guy that he had to go, and he only got 2 reps at the Tulane camp. That's the thing. Like, the competition for reps at these things is wild. And I was talking about Friday Night Lights at Florida back in the day. Like, you'd see these 4- and 5-star recruits like getting in fights over who could get in front of the line. And that was the interesting thing, because he at first was like trying to hang back, and then he realized, if I don't get more aggressive, nobody's even going to notice me. And the coaches tell you that. They're like, we see who's hanging back and we see who's jumping in. And so he jumps in, and this next kid's like 260 and big, and he could move. And he hit my kid with an inside move that my kid had not had a situation where someone that large moved that fast. So he didn't understand how fast his feet need to move, and his right foot was just stuck in mud. And I sent video of the rep to his offensive line coach. He's like, the O-line coach was funny though, because he's like, a D tackle is never going to make an inside move like that in reality. But yeah, we'll work on it to make sure he gets that foot moving.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And he comes off the field and he's like, that wasn't good. And I was like, no, you did great. Trust me. You survived. That's what really matters. And it was very eye-opening. And I was watching the kids, and you can kind of tell like who's going to get noticed by the coaches, who's going to be potentially getting Tulane offers. Like the ones who are elbowing their way to the front of the line to get those reps and then dominating. That's who they want.
Yeah. The reality of this whole thing, because I think as we're talking about the Tulane camp, is a reminder to the people who are listening of how good the players actually are going to Group of Five schools too. Like I
had this conversation with my son. I was like, so you've seen the Tulane camp now. Like imagine what the Georgia camp was. And now when you watch the games on Saturdays, are you going to watch them differently? He's like, yes. He's like, now I understand how athletic the guys are. Like when I'm watching Tulane play Navy.
Des Watson, baby. No, but
yeah.
thing that is the unmistakable truth about this is if you want to play at Alabama or you want to play at Georgia or you want to play at Florida or Michigan or Ohio State or any of the other places, 85% of it, I think, is whether or not you were gifted with a body that was big and fast.
Exactly. And that's one thing we've been talking about because, right now he's 6 foot 185. He's probably going to be around 200 by the time the season starts. Whether he grows or not is not up to him, not up to me, not up to his mom. Like, if I had to guess, he will probably wind up being about my height or a little taller. I'm 6'2.5". Like, he may be. His mom is very tall. The men in his mom's family are extremely tall. The men in my family are all between 6'1" and 6'3". So logically, that's probably where it winds up. But that's not 6'5", probably. And you probably have to be that if you want to play offensive line or defensive end or somewhere at one of these places.
Yeah. He's a good kid. He's athletic. I'm rooting for him. I hope he hits a growth spurt.
I'm not worried about it. I've told him I don't care if you play college football. Like, you do it because you like it. And if that all works out, great. Now, we went to the Duke camp. Well, the Florida 7-on-7 was interesting too because he had to play linebacker there, and he never played linebacker before. And he never covered a receiver before. And so that was interesting to watch. But he's going to have to play linebacker some at his school too. But that's interesting because that is the physical archetype that he's probably going to wind up. If he's 6'3", 230, you can play linebacker pretty much anywhere if you can run.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know how much can you teach speed to somebody? You
can't. You can't.
How much faster can you get if you work really hard? 2 seconds
you can shave time off your 40 for sure. You can get faster as you age. Like, I remember talking to Josh Allen's high school coach. Like, Josh Allen's high school baseball coach called him El Tortuga or La Tortuga, the turtle, because he was slow. He would, like, Josh Allen was 175 pounds and slow in high school. And then he just got faster as he got bigger. Now my kid is more athletic than I was. Like, maybe his mom gave him some speed genes. It certainly wasn't me, but he's fast. He's a lot faster than I ever was. So he actually may wind up being decent at linebacker. But that was fun watching him try to cover receivers.
He also has the gene in his body where he wants to grind someone's bones into the dirt to be a good linebacker. And you can't teach
that part he loves. Like, because he came off the field and he's like, this would have been so much better if I could have actually hit somebody.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Because hitting, you have to have a certain like killer mentality to be a good linebacker.
Yeah. I will tell you, there's some smooth receivers in the state of Florida from watching that 7-on-7. There are some smooth receivers in the next few classes. The Duke camp. Yeah. Very different population. Because this wasn't the group. Like, if we'd gone to the regular Duke camp, which they had a couple of those the previous few days, it would have been a very different group of people. That would have been all people trying to get recruited by Duke or people who were being recruited by Duke. So that would have been a very different, like, that would have been a little bit higher level athlete probably than even the Tulane camp. So this one though, obviously some of these people want to get noticed by Duke, but they actually want to get noticed by Harvard, by Dartmouth, by Case Western Reserve, by Catholic University. Like those are all the schools that are there. And definitely a different athletic profile. Like we were watching some of the, we got parked and we're watching some of the kids get out of their cars. And I'm looking at my kid. I'm like, a little different than Tulane. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, probably not a lot of 6'5", 375 pound 2028 kids. But
now he did go up against a kid in his class who already has a Virginia Tech offer. And that kid was good.
Yeah. I just remember just going to these camps and just being outside in 110-degree weather. And I'm like, can we just get to the rep so we can figure out who's good and who's not and go home?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's not like that anymore because by the time you get to that point, it's already over.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget just sitting there like in a demeanor drill at Florida's camp on like day 2 thinking this is never going to end.
It's never going to end. And it was always I used to have to go to, 6 or 7 of them a summer. And it was always like, when I was doing it at Ohio State, they always like did the same thing where like kids who got the offer got called into Urban Meyer's office and like they treated the ones who were going to get but like Ohio State used it as like, come compete for an offer. Like if you're interested in coming here and you want to get an offer, like come out here and show us you're worthy of one. So like it would get really intense. They'd have races and do all these things. But like the first 4 hours of it is just like measurements and like stretching and and like even the best players in the camp weren't even really full participants.
Well, this Duke camp, because there's so many staffs there, a lot of it was the early part. They did the measurements in the 40s, but then they had these 8 stations and just sent the groups around to the different 8 stations. So there's like an arc drill where you're running around a big ring to see how well you move and how well you bend. There's a drill where you're taking a medicine ball, you're on your knees and you're throwing it as hard as you can. It's all trait stuff because that's what those other coaches from those other staffs, they don't have enough time to see everything. They're just like, oh, does this guy have interesting traits? Great, cool. I'll mark his name and then we'll go find his huddle film on the internet.
Right. Got it.
So, but it was interesting. Yeah. And the kid came out of the Duke camp much more confident because they actually split that one up by age group. So the 28s and the 29s all were in one group together doing one-on-ones, O-line, D-line. He was the only center. And so when they asked for a new 5, no center showed up. So he just stayed in. He got 12 reps on one-on-one pass pro and he won 9 of them. So he comes out of that like, oh, I could take on the world. So also too, being a dad and having to like talk to your son after that would probably be difficult too if it didn't go well. So I'm happy to hear it did. Oh no, my thing was I just want you to get the experience here. And if it's terrible, that's also educational for everybody. So yeah. But it's going to be very interesting these next few years to see how this all evolves. And because one thing that we've learned watching his older teammates try to figure out what to do is like nobody knows what's going to happen with walk-ons.
Right.
Like with the revenue cap and the house settlement and the roster numbers, like nobody knows. I had one college coach tell me they took a ton of walk-ons this year thinking they were going to grandfather in the roster number so the roster number would just be higher for the next few years.
Yeah, I think everybody should do that.
Well, they can't now. It's too late. So,
man, common sense. Yeah, sorry.
Well, we got Dear Andy, Dear Ari tomorrow. We've already got some really good questions, but it is not too late to get your question in. You know how to find us at Andy_Staples on Instagram and Twitter, at Ari Wasserman on Instagram and Twitter, Andy Staples on3 at gmail.com, Ari.Wasserman at on3.com. Send us your questions. We've already got some really good ones, but we'd love to hear from you. And I can't wait. I'm so excited because this is my favorite part of the week is when our very intelligent, very handsome, very beautiful listeners and viewers get to drive the show.
The questions keep getting better, Andy. They keep getting better. Somebody asked me which fictional food from a movie would I want to eat.
That was one we got because we're bringing back the random rankings on Fridays, and that was one of the ones that we got emailed last night. Of which, so it's like the different Willy Wonka candies, or let's make that next week's random ranking. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Or
Sure.
want to do a draft? We'll do it as a draft. The fictional food draft is next week's, because this week's we've already decided the topic is going to be movies that do not have a sequel. That
are
should.
We drafting, or are we just giving 5 ideas each?
I don't know that we need to draft this one, because I think when you do the draft is when you got a couple obvious first choices. I don't know that we're going to overlap at all on this one.
Yeah, probably not. You're probably going to do a bunch of sci-fi movies, which is going to be annoying because
I don't think so, because I think all the sci-fi movies have sequels.
That's right.
If it was good, they made like 10 sequels.
Yeah. What was the one where Matthew McConaughey was like floating and like screaming through the library wall? What's that? Interstellar?
Interstellar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how you could make a sequel to that.
The movie was 3 hours long, and I had to watch a 2.5-hour video at the end of it to try to figure out exactly what the hell even happened.
But it definitely helped me understand the theory of relativity much better than I did before.
I still to this day don't know what happened in that movie.
When they're down on the planet, where every second they spend on the planet is like a year.
Yeah.
On the ship. That was wild.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works, but I also don't understand where he was floating.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either, or how the bookshelf worked. It was very confusing to me.
Yeah,
but
you gotta love a movie that everybody thinks is one of the top 10 movies ever made that people can't even understand. It's good. Okay. On Friday, we'll talk about it.
Send us those questions. Talk to you tomorrow.